the artist's palette beret has returned once more. Because I was requested a couple of different times to watch a show called Pappyland, which I had never seen before. Oh, and Pappy drew it. Now, the person who requested it was drew it, so I guess that makes a lot more sense to me now. Oh, too funny. And yeah, I don't even know what network made this or where it was run or where it was aired. It says on here, on Wikipedia, WCNY-TV and PBS, so I guess it was made in New York. I wonder if it was more of a local access show. The basic premise is a man named Pappy Druitt teaches dance, song, and life lessons. It's mostly drawing and life lessons, at least from the little bit I've watched. I will say this, if you're a fan of the show, that is awesome. And I am somebody who is much older than the intended audience. I'm someone who didn't grow up with this. And I've only seen really 1.25 episodes. I really wasn't the biggest fan of it. And I did think that stuff like Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross, and Barney the Dinosaur were done a lot better. The main issue that I took with Pappyland and some of this stuff that I saw was I felt that for the target audience it was going for, a much younger audience, I felt that there were some needlessly mean jokes in there. Stuff that you'd see in a lot of sitcoms around this time. Stuff like the first one I watched was on YouTube. It was called Pappyland YouTube and Sharing. And the first few minutes had jokes like, you know your jokes are terrible, and the plot is that one of the puppets gets hit in the head with an apple, thinks that he's a king, and starts treating everyone really badly, and Pappy encourages everyone to humor him. It's like, they don't really have to. So I did take some issue with that. And I actually had to stop that episode, because there were just too many. The other episode that I watched in full, Pappyland's Buddy Bear Gets a Honey of a Belly, also on YouTube, I did find better. So again, maybe the one episode is just a one-off thing, and I don't really want to judge a show by maybe that was one of the weaker episodes. I don't know. Benefit of the doubt. So in this episode, the one I did watch in full, going off on the needlessly mean jokes, I'm not really the kind of person who likes being insulted even when you're teasing, even when it's in good nature, unless I really know the person. Well, due to a lot of bad experiences with that. So, and the fact that this show is aimed at a much younger audience than something like, say, Powerpuff Girls or Gravity Falls, which tends to have more of that. It's for an older audience, so older kids would tend to know that a bit better and understand it. But seeing some of this in a show geared towards a much younger audience left a bad taste in my mouth, figuratively speaking. But I will give it this. It's not all bad. It's just that is something I picked up on. I have personal issues with it. The other episode was a lot better. It did not do this. Because although I did notice it had a much lower budget than something like Mr. Rogers, Sesame Street, any of those shows. I'm not going to fault it for that. I like the look of it. It had a Pee-wee's Playhouse thing going on. And they had a different style of puppet. They had this really cute looking world. I especially liked the drawing room where you have the background with crayons in it. But even in this episode, I actually had an issue with that. Because I have a bit of a weird thing with puppets, but only when it's one puppet in the show. And this episode had the one animatronic bear that made me a little uncomfortable. Because he's the only one in this episode. I know that there's other puppets, so wasn't scared. But the bear that had no eye movements, and the mouth motion wasn't syncing up with the dialogue. It was a bit unsettling. So, costumes have definitely improved in quality over the past 20 years. And this episode was about eating healthy and exercising. And one thing I noticed about this particular sketch was that Pappy's, I thought he was forcing his opinion on this bear. Because he starts talking about how his bear friend gained weight and how to eat healthy and exercise. Thought, rude. That's not how that would work. That bear would not take your advice in real life, and the needs of bears are different than the needs of people. Again, I'm probably just overanalyzing it. I'm not going to say I didn't hate the show. Just so you know, do not kill me over this. If you like the show, that's awesome, and we are going to see things differently. There is a lot of good in it, and one thing I did notice was the drawing segments. So I did draw along with him. The theme was a little girl choosing between an apple and a cupcake. They say she chooses right, the healthier option, and she chooses the apple. Again, I think it's a little bit limited and superficial in the way it talks about eating healthy and exercising. Because it seems to... It definitely gives a bunch of different food groups what's good, what's bad. Maybe it's just because I know a little bit, more in my couple of years extra of living, but I think it would have been a better message had they gone with, hey, dessert isn't all bad, just have it in moderation. These are good foods, but everyone's needs are different. Talk to your doctor or nutritionist about what foods might be best for you. You know what, little kids, obviously, I know maybe that's a little too much for a much younger show, but still, I thought the way it handled the message was not that strong. Anyways, I know I'm bashing this, but I'll get to the good stuff, because the good stuff, there's a lot of good stuff in there, too. I do like the look of it. Pappy is very charming. He's adorable. I actually kind of like the low-budget look of it. It's a nostalgic thing. I especially like his main room with that looks like this beautiful art room. I love that look. And when he draws, he says over and over again, hey, you can draw this differently than me. You can color this differently from me. Use your imagination. It's okay. You should have your own opinions. That is good. That is very, very good. It's a great message. And I do appreciate that. He says that a couple times as he's drawing. That's really cool. I noticed that he was drawing the girl he drew, he gave her bean face, which is a style of art that's getting criticized more now. As my training's in writing, so bean face doesn't bother me nearly as much as it bothers other people. But since it's being talked about a lot in the animation world, I did notice it here. And I like that he takes the time to go through. I like how he goes through how he draws things and that you can follow along. It's very calming. It is cool. So I think, while I personally did take some issues with it, I can see people liking this. I can see people liking the look of this. I can see people liking the art, because for what I criticized about the messages and some of the needlessly mean jokes, again, some of the jokes, maybe that was just a couple episodes did that. I don't really want to judge the show as a whole based on one episode. I don't think that's fair. But the stuff that's good about it, the fact that he encourages you to have your own opinions, the fact that he encourages you to draw along with him and to do things differently, how he talks you through it, I think that's really cool. I find there is a charm to this. I can see why people liked it. I think other shows have done this better, but there is a creativity to it. So, like I said, please don't kill me for that. But I'd rather give you an honest opinion than a sugar-coated one. And I like the actual artwork that's created. I like that there is an emphasis on art, because unfortunately, artwork and arts programs are usually the first to be cut in schools, which is a real shame. So we do need shows like this. We need shows that focus on art, that encourage art. And I honestly appreciate it so much for the fact that it does that.